Ever find yourself obsessively refreshing a web page? Like, come on, where are those results?
Ah, yeah.
And I'm not talking about like election night for president or anything. This is way more niche.
Much higher stakes. Right.
Exactly. This is about the student union government elections.
Yeah.
The SUG over at Nasrallah State University, Kefi.
Our listeners have been sending this one in a lot, so let's deep dive into it.
They had their election recently. Results are supposed to be out, but things aren't exactly moving smoothly, are they?
Not so much, no. Delay after delay, which on a student time frame feels like eons, I'm sure.
Right. Time moves differently when you've got that student life pressure cooker going on.
Totally. So what we're looking at isn't just your average bureaucracy is slow situation. It gets kind of interesting because it speaks to the whole power dynamic between students and the university itself.
Okay, I'm hooked already. So for those tuning in who haven't been glued to their screens like we have, set the scene a bit. What's the timeline here?
So elections happened recently. We were talking within the past couple of weeks. And there was this, how to put it, unofficial deadline. Word had gone around that an investigative committee was looking into something, and they'd have answers within 2 weeks.
2 weeks, that's pretty standard, right? For anything official, gotta love a good 2-week turnaround time.
Except that time has come and gone. And this is where that awkward silence sets in, the one you get after asking someone a really uncomfortable question.
Because if everything was above board, you'd think they'd be shouting the results from the rooftops, right?
Exactly. Transparency usually indicates a pretty smooth process. This, on the other hand, has all the hallmarks of, well, shall we say, a more delicate situation.
Delicate, I like that. So the 2-week mark, that's passed. And in the information vacuum, that's where things get interesting, right? Because now everyone's wondering, what's the committee actually doing?
Right. Is it actually an investigative committee, or is that just the official term for something else entirely?
Ooh, conspiracy theory time. I'm here for it. But seriously, what are some potential explanations here? You've looked into this.
Okay, so disclaimer, we're working with what we've got, which is mostly student counts and some, let's call it informed speculation from those in the know.
Got it. Standard operating procedure for a deep dive. Give us the good stuff.
So possibility one, and it pains me to say this as a former academic myself, sometimes universities mess up.
No.
You don't say.
Shocking, I know. But genuinely, procedural errors, maybe the way votes were tallied or some technical issue, these things happen and they necessitate a delay.
Okay, fair enough. But that feels almost too simple, given the radio silence. Right?
Exactly. That's why we have option 2, which is way more juicy. External pressure. Now, we're not naming names, but you can imagine a university like Nasrallah State. It's got to navigate politics, funding, all that fun stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Those pressures are real. And the SU, even though it's student-run, it's still got ties to the bigger system. Precisely. So maybe there's pressure to delay results. Perhaps a particular candidate is, shall we say, less desirable to certain parties.
And suddenly, this seemingly minor delay takes on a whole new meaning. It's not just about students anymore.
Exactly. Which brings us to the student perspective on all of this. Your source mentions students waiting patiently, which, let's be real, rarely tells the whole story.
Especially in the age of social media, right? If there's one thing we've learned, it's that students know how to make their voices heard.
100%. Online forums, student publications, even just chatter on campus. These are all avenues for students to express their concerns, hold the administration accountable.
It's like patiently waiting might fly in an official statement, but online, all bets are off.
For sure. And this is where it gets interesting trying to track down information. Because even without organized protests, that online buzz-is, a form of activism, it's putting pressure on the university, even if it's just to acknowledge what's going on.
It makes you wonder about the culture there, right? Like, is Nasrallah State known for active student bodies? Have they got a history of mobilizing around issues like this?
Excellent point, because that context changes how we interpret this whole waiting patiently thing.
Yeah.
If this is a university where students typically make a lot of noise, then this silence speaks volumes.
Right. Like, maybe they're organizing something bigger and we just haven't seen it yet. Or if it's usually a quieter campus, maybe this is their version of outrage.
And that is why this delay, however long it lasts, is so fascinating. It's not just about who wins the SUG election. It's about how institutions function, how power plays out, even at a seemingly small scale.
It's like this tiny microcosm of larger systems, right? We could be talking about national elections, corporate boards, anywhere where there's supposed to be a process, but things get murky.
And what's the message being sent, not just to the students at Nasrallah State, but to anyone watching this unfold. If those in charge can go silent during crucial moments, what does that say about accountability, about transparency?
Makes you think, right? So next time you're refreshing an election page or waiting on any important result, remember this SUG election.
Because that delay, that silence, it might be telling you a story far bigger than what's on the surface.
And on that note, we'll be keeping a close eye on Nasarawa State University. Thanks for diving deep with us today.